The Daredevil Born Again premiere was really good. It looks very promising, and it looks like they've pushed it to a new level of TV that is going to let it be very successful for the duration that it's on. Probably the most obvious thing everyone will talk about is that they do a big thing in the first about 10-12 minutes that really kind of shakes up the status quo, but also is just very awesome to watch. So it tells you right off the bat, it's going to be awesome, and we respect what came before, but we're going to change some things. But it works very well because it feels like a transitioning action. It feels like they're passing the baton over to this iteration of the show, and that they understand the old methodology and that they can do it, but they're going to do something a little different this time. It really felt like what we would call prestige TV now. It felt, not quite like regular TV, and almost like a movie. The only thing that makes it different from a movie is that you don't get the whole story in one go. But it shows by including the first 2 episodes in its premiere that it can keep doing what it's doing. And it sets up a lot of super compelling plot threads with characters that you're familiar with from the original series and characters that maybe you aren't as familiar with. And it managed to do that in a way where even if you haven't maybe watched anything Marvel in a while, or maybe if you haven't watched anything Marvel at all, you can come in and say, I can tell there's history happening, and I can tell there's stuff that's happened recently even, but I don't feel like I have to know everything about it to appreciate what's happening now. It's dramatically rooted in its own presentation in this very moment, and it works very well. I would highly recommend at least the opening to anyone who thinks they might even like it even a little bit, because it really works hard to grab your attention, and if you think you might like it at all, it's worth giving it a shot. With that said, I'm now going to talk about spoilers, so if you don't want to receive those, it's time to step away. Listen to the new theme song for a bit. This show feels great because the original show always had 3 overarching issues that always kind of messed it up, and this show seems like it's addressed all 3 of those things. The first one is the easiest to notice. The original series always had a problem with having too many episodes, and so it couldn't be a long-form TV show, but it wasn't short enough to be like a short-term miniseries type TV show in the storytelling it was doing. Now, because the season is only going to have 9 episodes, they've effectively removed that obstacle, and it looks like it's working out great. They can get more out of the budget, put more money into each episode, and get a better overall product. The second was a bit more controversial. I thought characterization of some characters always kind of didn't really fit with the tone they were going to, and always kind of took you out of the narrative. And a big one was the characterization of Karen Page. She wrote this weird line of, in theory, trying to be like Lois Lane, but in practice always kind of coming off as this person who needed to be rescued, and it didn't quite fit the tone of anything they were trying to ride the waves of. But Born Again solved that because they've written her out of the show, so now we don't have to kind of ruminate on that too much right now. And third, it always leaned way too much on the does Daredevil kill question, which was impossible, I think, for serious viewers to go with, because we've all just been watching all the Avengers movies where everyone, even Captain America, kills people and is just fine with it. It made Daredevil look like a joke that he, the most allegedly adult and serious character, was always stepping away from that, and it always ended up looking like just an attempt to extend the story and create more drama so that the show will last enough episodes, tying into an earlier problem. But now they've solved that because they had him kill Bullseye in the first scene of the show, and yes, blah blah blah, he didn't actually die, but the important thing is that he took the step to make him die, and so now he's no longer hanging on that edge, metaphorically and literally, making us wonder if he's going to do it. And that's fantastic. They've breathed new life into the world these characters are supposed to be part of, and they've finally made it into proper freaking prestige TV. When the original came out, they were trying to ride the hype of being a Netflix property and being able to experiment more with the rating and with adult content and with releasing all the episodes at once. But now that it's been 10 years and the format has changed a little, they've been able to step away from the Netflix experimentation and commit fully to the format of prestige TV. Each episode comes out individually, except for the premiere. Each episode is basically a movie in its production value, things like how it's filmed, the number of shots, the color grading, the songs they get to use. They had a Nick Cave drop in the premiere. That's amazing. And the format is built around both being good, but also kind of creating an atmosphere where people get their excitement stoked episode to episode and talk about it with their friends. And each episode gets released separately to build hype. And so it becomes more of a cultural event than the Netflix format made them. In passing, when She-Hulk came out, one of the creators of the Daredevil show said something like, "Oh yes, we loved that the character got to be on the show because they had more money, so they were able to show him doing things that we would have loved to have him doing more on our show. We just didn't have the budget." And now that they're making Born Again, they finally have the budgets. About halfway through the first episode, I was like, yes, they got the money. They finally got the money. They can finally go where they want to go with the character. And that's spectacular. The thing about popular long-running comic book characters is that when they're good, there can be so many iterations of them that basically any interpretation of them is valid. But this feels like an interpretation that manages to draw on the best of the character, but also bring it more firmly into the best of the film tradition, the film and television tradition, and is able to tell a story about this character for a new generation in a powerful and exciting way.